Time to sharpen your steaks and bust out your garlic, because we're back on the blood hunt. Phase 2. Vampire. Welcome back, Gainers, to another incredible, exciting, fantastic episode of ComicGains! Oh yeah, some of this. If you're new to the show, I'm Adam.
I'm Zach, and this is the Princess Aurora Heights. May or may not be a vampire princess, doing that princess wave you do too, out of respect, and of course, there's a Coco dog.
Who may or may not be a vampire Coco as well. I think they both got bit last night, so yeah, that's why we're jumping into the blood hunt. Alright guys, so today is Monday. We thought we'd have a really cool show for you this week, and we've actually had a couple of shows so far on the blood hunt. We did a preview of the blood hunt, Marvel's blood hunt, and we did what we're calling phase 1, and this is what we're calling phase 2. It's an unofficial phase 2. So I was like, I think there's going to be like 4 issues of Blood Hunt, like the main comic book, and they're kind of broken up into months as they go. So this one's a little bit shorter. I think the last one was like 11 books or 7 books. There's a lot of books. This one's only like 4 books. So it'll be a little bit quicker, but there's some cool stuff happening, and we dipped our toe into the Marvel Red Band as well. So that's like that comic book only for adults. So you may have to cover your eyes, Zach, during the time. But while you're covering your eyes, have a drink. Cool yourself up.
Because we're so thirsty, and I wanted some OJ. Not the killer, the drink. We got Trader Joe's fresh squeezed, apparently. So I gotta shake it up. Orange juice, unpasteurized, the best kind of uniced I like. Perishable, so keep refrigerated. And this is what it looks like. Actually, it looks like the best orange juice I've ever seen.
That's a lot of information about orange juice.
I love
In case you guys have never seen this juice called orange juice before.
Oh, whoa, that's really good. Yeah, pay attention for this one. You have to keep a lookout. And also, during the video, I'm going to be showing 4 vampire books that are not related, probably.
Prepare yourself.
So make sure to comment down below which books they are.
For some vampire goodness. You know where else you can get some vampire goodness? From us on Whatnot. Most Saturdays. Check out our listing times, but we will be on this Saturday. So Adam and Zach, the ComicGains crew, will be on at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 30-second auctions, dollar starts, followed up by the main event, Princess of Gains, where she hosts her very own show and answers any questions you guys have. So save all your questions for her show, or put them down below. All right, we're back on the. Was that a beer?
Sparkling water.
Sparkling beer.
2 drinks for the price of 1.
That's true. Sometimes it happens. All right, guys. Blood Hunt, Phase 2, as said by ComicGains. So far, just a quick back history on what's been going on in Blood Hunt so far. The Eternal Night has happened. The sky has gone black. A bunch of the Dark Force Dimension characters were blown up and blocked out the sun. And now all the vampires are able to run wild without the fear of the sun killing them. As well as some random other creatures. There's a few other creatures that have shown up as well. They're
creeping around.
Yeah, they're digging
happening.
The no sun. And the big surprise so far of the series was Blade is the main villain. So we got Blade as the main villain who's taken over. He has his Blood Coven, which is his group of baddies that kind of messing things up. And they're pretty interesting. They've kind of shown them all and what they can do. And they got in a big fight with the Avengers and beat the crap out of the Avengers. So far, they've lost, Thor got kind of almost killed. Black Panther almost got killed. Doctor Strange almost got killed. It all seemed like they got killed, but they almost didn't. They got turned into vampires right away. And I think Scarlet Witch is still missing as well. So, it's been a good story so far. There's been a lot of tie-ins some of the tie-ins have been goofy and whatever, but the main story I think has been really powerful and strong. So, this is in order. At the back of every issue, they will show you a checklist. So you want to make sure you read them in somewhat order. Most of the time it matters. Sometimes it doesn't. There's a lot of people out there that only read the main story. They're like, screw all these tie-ins, and I'm just going to read the main story. It feels like you're going to get the gist of the story if you do that. There's definitely some, like Doctor Strange and Moon Knight seem kind of important to it as opposed to some of the other tie-ins, but there's some other cool ones as well. Let's just jump right in. Let's let's dip our steak in the blood. Is that the best way to kill vampires?
A stake in the heart?
Or you cut their heads off?
I don't know. I've never killed a vampire, so I wouldn't know the best way, but I'm assuming...
I thought we all did.
I don't know. I haven't yet.
Wait, that guy wasn't a vampire? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, that's enough. Okay, let's get into it. First book of the day. We've got Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt issue number 1. And this is kind of cool. There've already been an Amazing Spider-Man in the Blood Hunt, but it was part of the regular run. Oh. This is a brand new spin-off starting at its own number 1. The cool thing about this as well is it's a different creative group on it. So this is Justine Ireland and Marcelo Ferreira, which I'm not super familiar with either of those creators. So maybe they're giving some newer people a chance to see how it's going, how their stories go, how their artwork looks, if they click or vibe with people. But
working on the biggest event and you're having some unknown people work on books, that sounds like a good idea.
A little tie-in. I don't know, a tie-in at least. The main books still have the big heavy hitter name. So important things from the last Spider-Man one. Basically, we learned how to kill vampires and how to undo vampirism. They killed the sire or the maker of the other vampire, and it turns someone back into a regular human again. So you did learn that. Other than that, the other one was kind of goofy. At the very end, though, who do we run into? Do you remember?
I can't remember. Blade?
Nope. Right at the end. If Princess opens, you'll see. Opens the book. That's the whole point. We got to open the book.
Dracula?
Wait, we're going to read it through the cover.
I'm trying to remember. What was it?
So you get a quick, this is what happened at the end of the last one, where it's Spider-Man's protecting the city, and then out of nowhere, bam!
Oh yeah, the lizard.
The lizard pops out, and you're like, what's the lizard have to do with vampires? And is he gonna fight the lizard? It seems like he's gonna fight the lizard. So, if you guys don't know, the lizard used to be, or was, Dr. Kurt Connors, who's that guy that had one arm that accidentally transformed himself, or on purpose, into a lizard, and then while he's a lizard, like, thinks it's a good idea if other people are lizard people
the
too.
Lizard brain.
The lizard brain.
Yeah.
So he gets into it right off the bat. The lizard shows up, they fight, they get into a scrap, and then, like, out of nowhere, the lizard just stops. And they're, like, both looking at each other, and he's like, are we fighting? Are we not fighting? What are we doing? We're just looking at each other. And then, who shows up? Misty Knight.
Ah.
Awesome Misty Knight shows up, and she's kind of like, hey, me and the lizard are working together, and we're kind of teaming up. And we're wondering if you could help us. So she's asking Spider-Man for help. They kind of do this thing. He's like, yo, I'm really busy. Like, I don't know if I can just help anybody. And she's like, well, I know of the cure for vampirism. And if you help us, me and my buddy Lizard here, we can go get the cure. And she's like, I've been working with Dr. Mike and Colleen Wing. And Spider-Man's like, who's Dr. Mike? And she's like, oh, Morbius.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, cool.
So it's a goofy thing that she calls him Dr. Mike. I don't know if that's ever been done before where they're like, Dr. Mike, but whatever. And she also calls Lizard Lizzie. So just a little funny thing. So as they're kind of running around, they get into some scraps with some other vampires together. And they do explain that the lizard doesn't really pay attention very well. Like he's kind of like, should I go here? Actually, he doesn't even talk, really. He doesn't really talk at all. She's like, go over there, go do this. And I guess at a certain point, most of Doc Connor's mind, or he may even be completely gone from the lizard.
I know Bitcoin isn't real money.
Yeah, that's true.
Inside joke.
I don't know if it's I think his mind is gone or something, so it's just the lizard's mind left in there, if that makes any sense. So he's kind of and she says he doesn't take directions very well. Whoa, we skipped really far ahead. Prince is just jumping all the way to the end of the book.
Reading it. It's speed reading.
So he doesn't take directions very well. So as they decide, they're like, okay, she's like, I put a tracker on Colleen Wing and Morbius, so we need to go find them. So they follow the tracker and they get to this empty building. And he's like, okay, I'm going to swing up to the building and check on it and see what's going on in the building. So he swings up there. Let's see, we're in the building. All right, so they're following the tracker, and it takes them to an empty building. And Spider-Man's like, yo, I'll go up there and check things out. And when they get there, he sees that there's just a tracker laying on this table. So can't really follow them based on that. And then they kind of realize that the lizard is an animal, and animals are good at what?
Tracking,
exactly. So they're like, let me use the lizard as my tracking dog. So he's like sniffing it out, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go follow to where they are. And they kind of get into a little bit of scrap as they're going, and leads them to a church. So the lizard's like, we're going here. This is the best place to go. So they get to the church, and inside, what we got? They think that it's weird that there's no people in the church when they get there. So in the story, like, church is holy ground. So a lot of people have been like scurrying to the churches and like hanging out in there, and the vampires can't come in and get them. But they're at this church and there's nobody there, so they're like, this is kind of strange. So they get in the church, they lead to the bottom, and then they find out that it's an old Beyond Corporation facility. So it's like an extra lab that they have set up.
Oh.
And the Beyond Corporation showed up quite a while. Actually, they've been in the comics for a while, but there was a really big story with like Beyond Corp where they were like running Ben Reilly, and actually Misty and Colleen were working for them, and also like Monica Rambeau were all working for the Beyond Corp. So they're kind of like getting this information down here on the computer of like where Colleen and them could be. And as they're doing that, Peter and Lizard are like, okay, we'll spot for you for like a minute. We'll spot for you. And as the vampires start to come in, and he's like, all right, they can't come in here at all because we're on holy ground. Then they just cross the line. And he's like, oh, clearly this is a fake church.
Oh.
You know, like
consecrated or...
Well, it's just like, it's like a fake headquarters for the Beyond Corporation. So it's not a real church. So that's why there's no people in there. And then when they walk over the border, they're like, nothing happens to them at all. So it's like, oh. Huh. So as they're leaving, they do this part right here. Actually, I'll use to read this act. So actually, I thought this part was kind of funny where Peter's like, she's like, how much time do you need? And she's like, give me 5 minutes. And then like, that's what Peter says in response to her saying that.
Is that a real 5 minutes? Or like when people say to just take a minute, but they mean half an hour?
Yeah. I thought that was funny. You know, if you're like, give me 5 minutes. But like, is it really 5 minutes? You know, people do that a lot. Like, I'll get ready in 5 minutes. Then it's like a half an hour later, right? Right?
Yes.
That happens all the time.
I know.
So after they escape from the fake church in the Beyond Corporation, they head to I think they head to a real church is the next thing. So they end up at this real church. Misty's like, hey, I know this guy who can help us out. And they go meet this Father Matthias. Matthias is his name. I don't recognize the character. Maybe he's like important to Misty or whatever, but he's like, I need your help with killing vampires. You know, we need some holy stuff. And he's like, hey, Spider-Man, give me all your extra web cartridges and I will bless them to make them holy web cartridges, which is kind of cool, right? It's like, bless the web cartridges. So you can like shoot out the holy web cartridges. And he like Spider-Man decides at this point that he didn't get all the information he wanted from Misty. It's like he said he trusts her, but he doesn't like completely trust her. So they're like, all right, let's head off on the mission. You guys go that way, I'll go this way. And he actually heads back to that fake church, and he wants to like look at the information that's on the computer. She didn't let him look at it, so he wants to go back and look at the computer. And when he looks at it, it's not really like a big reveal, because in the comic world, we know who is in charge of the Beyond Corporation. It's Maxine Danger. So he like sees like her information that she knows something about the vampires. Like she's connected in some way, shape, or form to the creation of what happened with the vampires. And she's a pretty nefarious character. She's not like a good guy in any way, shape, or form. She's basically the person that was like messing with Ben Reilly. They like stole his memories and like turned like Dr. Kafka into like Queen Goblin, all the bad stuff.
So, that's interesting.
So she's clearly involved, and at the end it just basically stops where like they're leaving the church and they're about to fight a whole bunch of vampires. So it's like bam. Yeah. Not a big cliffhanger on this one at all. But and I don't really we learn like a little bit. Clearly the Beyond Corporation's like involved with the vampires, but it's cool that Lizard's like sort of a good guy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we jump into the second half of the story. This is basically split into two. So right off the bat, you get to see Colleen Wing and Dr. Mike, and they're tied up in the back of a van. And it always confuses me because, like, in the comics, like, Colleen Wing's like a white girl with red hair, but in the TV show, she was a kick-butt Asian girl. And like, you know, I like the TV version a little better. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But they're tied up. She got some kind of handcuffs on, so Colleen whips out her trusty, like, paper clip or hair clip and, like, unlocks it. And Morbius is kind of like, oh, that's, you did a good job. I'm impressed. Surprised you're able to do that. And they flip over and they go into this building and are immediately attacked by vampires. And it's basically like the rest of this thing is them fighting vampires together, and they kind of like are on a team. You can tell that Morbius is like kind of annoyed with her a little bit. It's like he's kind of on her team, but he's also like, you interrupted me when I was doing something important, and now we're like traveling together. And so they just basically fight a whole bunch of vampires. Like, for the next couple of pages. Some really, you know...
And they both wear onesies.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, it's funny. Morbius is still wearing, like, his age-old costume. It's like... You'd think he'd, like, update a little bit. It's the same one he had since the 70s with his pop collar. Although I do like that costume, though, right?
You gotta respect the pop collar.
You do. You do. So it's just a whole bunch of vampires fighting, and then they get back to back. So you got Morbius, you got Colleen Wing, they're back to back. They're kind of like, all right, let's see what's going down. And all the vampires stop. And he's like, well... If they're stopping, someone must controlling them, so that must mean the master is here, right?
Yeah.
The master.
Who's the master?
Obey your master. And it's like, yeah, it seemed like it's going to be this big deal, and then this guy's like, hey, my name's TJ. And I'm like, who's TJ? I don't know who TJ is. But he said he changed his name to Theocritus, which is much better than TJ. And he made a new group, which he's calling the Hemogoblin Incorporation. Nice to get another goblin group, but hemo, like the blood goblins. It's like a crap goblin. But the big news there is what happens to Colleen. I think she gets bit. So Colleen gets bit and falls on the ground. And then you get this weird thing where the guy's like, so Morbius, you're going to work with us? And he's like, we want you to work with our team to find a cure. And he's like, that's weird, but okay, I'll help you.
Okay.
Right? So Morbius is going to work with the Hemogoblins to look for a cure for vampirism, which are also
such a bad.
Which are also vampires. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Not much of like a cliffhanger, other than the fact that like they're like, we want you to work with us and find a cure.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So overall, pretty good. I enjoyed the artwork; was really nice in there. The writing was cool. Felt like a good Spider-Man story most of the time. They're always like putting Misty Knight like in every story, which I'm not mad at. It just happens a lot. She's been like hanging out with Miles lately a lot and like shows up in a lot of their stories. So good one overall. I think better than the last Spider-Man story. What do you think? Well,
it was okay.
Okay.
I didn't mind it. I mean, 2 halves in a book.
Yeah. That too.
I'd like a continuous story.
One full story. Yeah, it definitely breaks where they're like, okay, now we're looking at Morbius and Colleen. And their story's like super quick. They're like, we just fell in this area, fought a bunch of vampires, get bit, story over.
Yeah, they could have done it in 2 pages.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It happens. It happens. All right. Next one on the list. And the very last book of the first round. So they kind of split it up differently. So Union Jack the Ripper, issue number 1. So this ends after this book is Blood Hunt 2. So in the order, this is the last book of that area. And this is done by Cavan Scott and Kev Walker. So Cavan Scott is the writer and Kev Walker is the artist. And they call this book the Ghoul Britannia. Ghoul Britannia. I'm not sure if that's a play on words or something, but cool cover. The cover's actually done by Ryan Brown. The cover's actually really, really cool on this one. Different thing as well. This one has the parental advisory on the cover and the other one doesn't. So, and it's not the red band version. I don't think there's a red band version of the other books. So it's definitely a little more crazy. You jump right into the story, and if you're not familiar with Union Jack, his original character was James Montgomery Falsworth, and he was a hero from World War I and World War II. And after he passed on the mantle to another guy named Joey Chapman, who was the everyday working man of Britain. So it's much more like chill dude than the original Union Jack, but they're renaming him for this story Jack the Ripper. starts off in Manchester, England, because that's the only city anyone in America knows in England. It's like, why not be in Manchester? That's the only we know. And you get this small group of survivors, and they're led by this police-type woman. You don't quite know what kind of policewoman she is, but she's kind of got this group of people, and they're surviving in the apocalypse. And they're traveling around England, and stuff's blowing up, and people are falling over dead bodies. And they're like, we got to stick together. We're the only survivors. It's like the one lady is like the cop, like this one here. You can tell she's sort of the police officer. They also do an interesting thing where they swear a lot in the book, and they just cover up the word bubbles. Kind of weird, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of doing like the, it's like they just scratch out the bad word. So you can almost kind of see it underneath. And immediately we get into the bloody stuff. So the guy falls over, and a vampire shows up and snatches his throat right out, which is pretty awesome. The guy just like just rips his throat right out, and then the people are like, "I think we could still save him." And like the girl's like, no, I think that dude is dead." And then more of the vampires. And these vampires are really kind of scary looking compared to the ones from the other books, depending on who's drawing them. But a bunch of the vampires like surround the group, and they feel like this is like the end, like, all right, they're gonna just eat us one at a time, suck all the blood out of us. Like, doesn't seem like the cop police woman is powerful enough to stop them. Yeah. And as they're about to like sink their teeth into their first victim, the dude's head just goes and like blows up. So a bullet comes through and just blows up the vampire's head, and then a bunch of the other ones like explode too. Right? Union Jack. And then it goes in this awesome splash page. Oh yeah, double splash page. You get the first Union Jack, and he looks a lot like Deadpool, I feel like, with like except in a blue costume, and instead of a big samurai sword, he has what's that?
A gun. Or no, a claymore, like Excalibur.
Yeah, he's got like a British, like Excalibur, like a big old British sword on his back. He also has all his guns. He's got his pockets, and he's just blowing a vampire's head off, like. So move over. There's a bunch of blood all over everyone's face. You get to see Union Jack just jab this sword right up through like this vampire's chin. Pretty good. This artwork really reminds me of John Romita Jr.'s like Kick-Ass artwork a little bit, doesn't it?
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like I thought it was kind of not remedial a little bit, but it has its own style, and it grew on me a little bit. I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this style. And I'm like, it actually looks really cool. And it's much gorier. He's like cutting people's heads off. His body's flying everywhere. He looks like stabbing them in the stomach. Just a bunch of really cool fight scenes. And the team's like, they're kind of like, whoa, who is this? I think they kind of know who he is. They're like Jack the Ripper, or Union Jack. And the group of regular people are like, all right, this is our chance to get away. So they all kind of like pile in this van, and they're basically gonna leave. And as they look back, Union Jack gets like slashed in the stomach real bad, and the cop woman's kind of like, should we leave or should I go help him? Should we leave or should I go, And she like woman's up and goes and saves him. So blows like shoots the vampire. It's about to like hurt Union Jack. And I think that's cool sometimes when they rip the bottom of the mask gets ripped off. So you can see like their facial expression. So now Union Jack, the bottom of his mask got ripped, so you can see like his mouth. And the girl basically shoots the vampire and saves his life. So it's pretty cool. Then they grab him, put him in their van. They got their special getaway van, and he's like kind of bleeding in the back of the van while the group of people are driving. And they're like, all right, we need to go left. We got to go right. And then he's like, listen to me. I'll tell you guys where to go. And so he's trying to like explain to them where to go while he's like bleeding out like in the back. And while that happens, a vampire like jumps on top of the van and sticks his head in through the door. And it's pretty cool. He like jabs this ball up in the vampire's mouth, and it is a holy water bomb. Right, Zach?
The holy bomb. The holiest of the holy.
Yeah, and the vampire just like disintegrates. Super, super cool. And
cool.
They get back to his base. He's got like a base, a headquarters. And what does a guy named Union Jack the Ripper have at his headquarters? A whole bunch of weapons. So he's got a crap ton of weapons.
A bunch of toys. Yeah.
Well, he's laying there bleeding, and this little girl comes over to make him feel better. And she's like, "Here, mister, you can play with my dolly. What's while you're sick?" And he kind of like yells at her. He's like, "Get away from me! I don't want your dolly." So the girl gets sad and like cries and like runs off to kind of like goes and hides in a back room in his like his hideout. And the policewoman follows the little girl down there, like, "Hey, don't get lost, you know, like we don't know what's back here." So she follows the little girl to this back room, and surprisingly, what Union Jack has in the back room is pretty ridiculous. So, one more page. He's got a blood pool or whatever that is. Like it's kind of like a hot tub full of blood, but with a bunch of chains sticking out of it. So they're clearly like somebody inside this blood hot tub, right? It's kind of strange.
Kind of cool. Yeah,
so the lady kind of freaks out, and then these hands start to come up out of the blood, and this creature pops out. And it's probably like the nastiest looking vampire I've ever seen. It looks like he has like fingers coming out of his eyes, like poking through his eyes. She's like, "Holy crap!" It's like, well,
get it.
Yeah. So then she starts shooting this thing a whole bunch in the face, like, and she's basically fighting it. It looks like she's defeated it enough where she can like, oh, like I killed that, I shot it a bunch, and then the thing like comes back to life again after she shoots it and starts attacking her again. And right before she's about to kill it, Union Jack like opens the door and he's like, "Wait, stop, don't kill that thing. He's my friend."
He's my friend.
Yeah, so he's got like, was it like Walking Dead? You know where they keep like the zombies, like or in the barn. He's like keeping one of his old friends. So this dude is actually Bulldog, who is actually a British superhero, the British Bulldog, and he's like part of like the Union, like actually like a real character, and somehow he got bit and turned into a vampire, and now he's keeping him his little buddy. That happens in that one movie too, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that one, like Shaun of the Dead? Like after his buddy gets like bit by a vampire, he like chains him up and like plays get bit by a zombie, and then they like play video games together.
Yeah. When they get back from like they're living life with zombies.
Yeah. He's like, "It's your turn." He's like, like playing the video game.
"No, don't try to bite me." Nope.
Yeah, and then the story ends where basically a whole bunch of vampires are going to attack his hideout. So this one's not much of a cliffhanger either. You know, like it just kind of ends. So you got they introduced a small group of people, and they like escaped, and now they're in Union Jack's base. This was surprisingly better than I thought. A lot of action, a lot of like heads getting ripped off, a lot of guts flying everywhere. Union Jack's kind of an interesting character. He's kind of fun. Like I said, he's sort of like a British Deadpool, but I don't think he has any powers that I'm aware of.
No, he's just a good fighter.
Just like a good fighter.
Union Jack.
So I do recommend this one. It's kind of cool. I don't know how it falls into the storyline.
Better than the last.
You like that one better than the last one? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. Kind of confusing where it's going to go, but yeah.
Like how these are all going to tie together.
Yeah,
I have no
exactly.
idea. I don't imagine like Union Jack's going to come in and like handle business against the Blood Coven. If he can't even take on like a couple of vampires by himself. Disappointed. I'm disappointed. All right, guys. We got one of the main books. This is the start of the very next phase. So you have Blood Hunt issue number 2, and we got a special for you guys. This is the Red Band edition. So when we reviewed issue 1, we did not get the red band. This issue 2 is the red band. It does cost you $1 extra to get that extra gore. It does have a different story too. Slightly different story depending on the gore. I've been told issue 1 was much better in the red band than issue 2. But this one is written by Jed McKay, who is the main cat, who's kind of like the main leader of this whole thing. And it's drawn by Pepe Larraz. Pepe, who is a fantastic artist. He's the one who basically drew a lot of that last X-Men series, the Krakoa era. So similar to Krakoa, they give you this nice, in X-Men they always do this key players thing. So they show you all the people that are like the key people for the story. So you got like, Blade, Bloodline, Dracula, you got Black Panther, Captain Marvel, you got Hunter's Moon, Tigra, and then they give you all the names of the Blood Coven. So yeah, like it leads off in the last issue where they're basically in the Impossible City, and I'm not super familiar with the Impossible City, except I think in the last Avengers run, that's like the new Avengers headquarters, And Blade really wanted to take control of the Impossible City. So that was like his jam. He's like, I want to take control of this thing. It's going to help me out. Other than that, it's whatever it is. He does have Thor. He does have Scarlet Witch, and he has Black Panther under his control. So they're all either locked up or he's turned them into vampires. And he lets basically the team know this is what he wants. He's got the Blood Coven there, and he's got Black Panther, who is a vampire at this time. And he's like, Blood Coven, I need you to go get the girl, which we know is Brielle. So somehow Blade's daughter, Brielle Bloodline, is an important key person in the series. So he's like, that's what I want you to get. And he's like, Black Panther, I need you to go get my special prize. And they don't say what the prize is. So he sends Black Panther out to go get this unknown prize. And we'll see. That's going to be kind of a mystery of what this prize is. And that's kind of like the end of the little powwow with the team, little powwow team. So switches over, and we're in New York now. And in the Big Apple. And you got Brielle, Bloodline is fighting off some vampires. So this is one of the things that they changed in the Red Band. So the mom's guts are not being eaten by a vampire in the regular one. She's just with the family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they change it so that her mom's guts are being eaten.
Oh, wow. That's messed up.
Pretty gnarly. So a Bloodline shows up, and it looks like she cut somebody's head off, right? And then a bunch of these vampires like burn up, sort of Blade style. Like see the skeletons firing up. And obviously we know who her partner is, right?
Yeah,
Dracula. So yeah, Brielle has been hanging out with Dracula, and he is not 100% acting like a good guy, but he knows she's important. So he's like, I need to find the most important person, and I'm going to hang out with her. So they've kind of agreed on this like team up, but he doesn't seem like he's a good guy. You know what I mean?
Doesn't seem like it at all.
So they're together, they're doing their thing, team up, and I think there's a point right here where after they kill the vampire, somebody says like, hello, Dracula, and Brielle Brooks, daughter of Blade. So someone's behind them and knows who they are, and it just cuts out. So like you don't get to see who was saying that to them. And it leads you into the next part where you get our other team, and this one actually kind of goes backwards in time a little bit, because I think at the end of Doctor Strange, we actually got to see Moon Knight, Tigra, and Miles like show up on his doorstep. Mm-hmm. And so they were already together. This is them kind of like meeting. So you get Hunter's Moon, who is that other Moon Knight character, and you get Tigra, and they're killing vampires together. And then out of nowhere, Miles shows up, and he's like, "Hey guys, let's do something together. Let's go somewhere." He's like, "We need to get to Doctor Strange's place," and he's like, "I think that's Bleecker Street, right?"
I think so.
So he's like, "We got to get to Bleecker Street." And Miles is like, "Dude, I'm new. I don't know where that is. Like, I don't know where it is." And Tiger's like, "How do you not know where the Sanctum Sanctorum is?" She's like, "I'll lead you guys there." And so when they go there, they get to this big, grand looking building. And she's like, "It's really obvious. Look at it. Look at what it is." And then Hunter's Moon's like, kind of leans over. He's like, "Dude, I didn't know where it was either. Don't feel so bad." Like, it's, that's ridiculous to think that we'd know where all this stuff is. Mm-hmm. And Doctor Strange pops his head out the door in his astral form, because we know already why he's in his astral form, but they don't know why he's in his astral form. And Tiger's kind of like, "Dude, like, we're in the middle of like a big, like, epic event. Why are you messing around meditating?" She thinks he's like dicking around, like within his astral form. And he's like, "Things are kind of serious in here too. Take a look at this." Like, leads him into the room, and his guts are hanging out. So you get to see he's in that because Doctor Strange got bit by the vampire, so he's like doesn't have his mind inside. So I think he's kind of just in agony, chilling there. This is one of the things they switched in the Red Band too. So in the regular one, his like guts are hanging out. In the Red Band, his guts are hanging out. Apparently, guts are hanging out. That's a big deal. Clea's there. She's trying to hold him together, all his like goodies inside, and they switch back. So we're back. We're back to I think are we back to Brielle? No, we're just back to New York, and we have the Blood Coven. So we get to see the Blood Coven again. We saw them kick the crap out of the Avengers last time, and they kind of match themselves up with with each one has like a special ability that's better against a different Avenger, and since the Avengers didn't know them, they were able to take advantage of them. Now the remaining Avengers kind of know their enemy a little bit better, and you get the remaining team. So the remaining team is Vision, you get Captain Marvel, you get Sam Wilson, Captain America, and you get Iron Man. I think this it should be Tony Iron Man. So they come down like, let's duke it out. And right off the bat, the Avengers are like better prepared for the battle. So Vision like pops down, and there's a guy who can control people's brains. So it can like basically stop you from fighting. And he did that to Captain Marvel in the first battle. Like she went to go fight, and he's like, brain off, you know? And she's just like frozen. So instead, they attack that dude with Vision, and he goes to turn off Vision's brain. And what's inside Vision's head?
Circuitry.
Not a brain. Yeah, so his brain doesn't turn off, and he's able to like just kick the crap out of this guy. He's like, robot brain, messed up. So he stomps him out really well, and then actually throws him out of that black circle that's like that's covering the earth, and the guy like goes into the sunlight and like burns up as they're doing that, and Captain Marvel's able to kick the crap out of the other Blood Coven guy. I can't remember, it's like there's Brainbender, and there's another guy too, Megrum, I think is the other guy. And as they're doing that, all right, so Vision kills Brain Blender, like throws him up in the sun, and he like burns up. And then, you get to see like the Blood Coven fighting the rest of the team. Captain Marvel takes on this other character. He reveals underneath it kind of has like this stone face mask on. When he pulls it off, he reveals that he's like a vampire underneath, or like a bat. He has like a bat face. Obviously, he's a vampire.
Yeah, all vampires.
Yeah, like a bat type face. And there is an important part right here where they mention about Blade, and he says that Blade is now a vessel for something else. So I feel like that gives you a little bit of a hint that like Blade's not totally coherent about what's going on. So like somehow some kind of, and it's just my speculation, they don't actually say this, like some kind of blood god or something has like taken over his body.
Like Noel kind of thing.
It could, or like, remember like in the Blade movie, there's like the blood god shows up and takes over that dude's body. I feel like they may be borrowing from that a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, so you also get Iron Man takes on another character here that he lost to before, but he seems more prepared. He has like a magnetic barrier, so it's like, I'll stop you with my magnets. And this other guy is about to throw a spear at him from his back, and you're like, oh, here we go again. The Blood Coven's gonna get one up on the Avengers again. Yeah. So, but surprise, surprise, someone crushes that guy's spear with some sunlight. And when Vision was up above the barrier, he absorbed all this sunlight, and when he came back down, he just basically starts destroying a bunch of them with like with like extra sunlight, like.
You should have wore some sunscreen, stupid vampires.
Right? And it pretty much seems like, where was Vision last time? Because he's basically kicking the crap out of this entire team. So they throw him around a little bit, and you get Captain Marvel blast this hole through the basically through that barrier with her power, and it creates like a sun, kind of like, you know, like the sun comes out, like it's like.
Yeah, like the clouds part, and then the sun has
and she's like, kind of like, come and get us, you turds, like, you know, like they're in like this like sun hole. That's a thing. But this is a really cool shot, I think, because it's kind of like, check out the new team. So like you get the Avengers, and then you get Brielle and Dracula, like we're part of the team now.
It's like,
right?
But how can Dracula, I guess Dracula.
Dracula's immune to the sunlight.
He's a day walker.
Yeah. He's immune. He originally was not immune to the sunlight, but he becomes immune later. So I thought that was cool. You get like the new team. Then the team's like, all right, where should we go? So this new Avengers team's like, where's the best place we should go for vampire hunting?
The Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yep, let's go to the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Stupid.
Yeah, let's go back, because all roads lead back to Doctor Strange. So when they get there, they get to Doctor Strange. So some history a little bit. Brielle and Miles have hung out before. And so as soon as she gets there, she's like, I know somebody. This is my friend Miles. Which Miles is kind of a pimp, dude. He's like, he's got all these girls on his leash. And immediately he starts grabbing his head, and he's like, no! And you're like, uh-oh. And the big reveal, I feel like there's always a big reveal, but this one actually has a good
vampire.
one. Yeah, Miles was secretly a vampire the whole time. So underneath his mask, which is pretty crazy. There was a thing where Miles and Blade met up in the first issue, and they were like, "Hey, buddy, like let's go kill some vampires together." And then it just blacks out. Like you don't see what happens to Miles, and then you find out that Blade is bad, and you're like, "Wait a minute, if he was hanging out with Miles, what's the deal?" You know?
Mm-hmm.
So really good. I really like this issue like a lot. So it's a little more grandioso, you know, but it should be. It's the main book. You know what I mean? Like you got the Avengers, you got like the main Blood Coven, Blade's involved in there. Miles is turning. You got there. You can see the team forming. Like started out as all these separate teams, and they're kind of like combining into one team. At least the main guys. Right?
Exactly. It's interesting.
Yeah, artwork's really good as well. Fantastic artwork in that one.
Yeah, it has all that. But does it have
that kind of artwork?
That?
It's too bad Vampirella couldn't be in this. They should do a crossover, dude.
That would be cool.
Marvel, Blade, Vampirella crossover.
Please, that'd be amazing.
All right, and the last book of the day. We've got Black Panther, Blood Hunt. Huh? Big surprise. Number 1. This is also a spin-off micro series. We'll call it a mini series. Micro series?
Micro.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because right now Black Panther is written by Brian Hill, the regular Black Panther. Actually, no. Brian Hill's writing the Ultimate Black Panther, and he's also writing the Blade series. But this one is not written by him. It's actually Cheryl Lynn Eaton, who I'm not familiar with either, and is drawn by Farid Karimi. Hopefully I said that right. I don't know either of those people as well, but this is an interesting one. So we got Black Panther, and this directly takes off where Blade tells him, "I need you to go get that secret prize."
Ah, the secret prize.
Which we don't know what the secret prize is. So T'Challa is returning to Wakanda, and while he's going back to Wakanda, they should make a song like that, right? Going back to Wakanda. Prince is like, no, that's silly. So these panthers that are following him are actually like the god Bast, the goddess Bast. I guess the panther goddess, who's like the god that they worship, is a female god, and he's going to Wakanda on the mission for Blade, and the goddess kind of understands that and is mad at him. So it's like attacking him, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you coming? Why are you going to Wakanda for like bad reasons? And he's like, I know, like I shouldn't be going there. And if you guys aren't familiar with what's been going on in Black Panther, after the last series, he got kicked out of Wakanda. So he's like still Black Panther, he's still the protector, but he's not actually really allowed to go into the city. So the entire current run, he's like performing all his duties in like a different city. Like an outlying city. His duties.
He got kicked out of his own city?
Yeah. Because of that whole Spygate thing where he was like spying on people behind their back, and they're like, we don't trust you anymore.
Get out!
You
stink!
And he got a new costume a little bit. He has like a new thing. So you can see he's got like his vampire teeth and all these goodies. So as he goes, so he thinks it's a good idea if he goes to that place where they have the heart-shaped herb. So like the temple, and he's like, okay, if I take the herb, maybe it'll heal me. So he lays in that pool, he makes the special formula, he drinks the herb, and the cool thing about this is that it kind of fixes him a little bit, but not all the way. Like he's still a vampire, but he has a little more control over like his mind than so now he has like kind of 50-50 control, as opposed to being like completely controlled by Blade. So
like a marriage.
Yeah, I guess, right? Yeah. Like, no, it's more like 100% control. So as he like pops out of the water, a priest kind of shows up, and for some reason they like don't see him. They're just like, who's down there? Who's been drinking out of our toilet water? No. So they're like kind of angry that someone's in there disturbing like this royal place. And he doesn't really let them see him. And the guy might even be blind too, I'm not sure. Maybe that's why. Yeah, it looks like maybe he's blind. And he's like smelling, he's like, someone used the herb. So he's like, priest, get him. So all these priests show up, and I really like this double splash page here. So he's like, guards. So the guards all show up and they fight him. They all look the same, like they're the same person, but they're all different. The guards do. The guards all kind of like, they're like similar.
They're wearing like loincloths.
Yeah, they got like loincloths on. But so T'Challa's fighting them, not hurting them. He's kind of just like jumping over them and going over them. And then right as they're about to like attack him even further, he's like, stop! Like, I am your king. You must not attack me. And then out of nowhere, they all just stop. And they're like, ugh. And they drop their weapons. And he's like, oh, that's cool. I just gained a new power. So vampires have the ability of influence. Mm-hmm. So you can like tell like your victim, like, I'm going to suck the blood out of your neck. You better do what I tell you to do.
If I get drunk enough, I feel like I have that influence.
Right?
Give me a beer!
On yourself?
No.
That's called under the influence.
Oh.
That's when you're susceptible to other people.
Oh.
So it's kind of cool. He snaps his fingers and like they all stop and he realizes he has like a new power. So that's an interesting part about the new power. So he goes to this city called Brinin Zana. Brinin Zana?
The Golden Shower City.
The Golden City. Hopefully there's no golden showers. This is actually the city he's been operating in. So this is where he lives in the current book. And that's his like new costume. Looks like his old costume, but he has like a shoulder guard and he wears like a cool looking sash. I actually like this costume a lot. It's kind of a sash, right?
A sash.
It looks like a cape when he jumps. So he's back in his city, and right off the bat, Blade appears to him. And like, I'm not really sure if it's Blade's actually talking to him as like his like master / sire, or if it's like in his head, but he's like, you're not doing what I told you to do. You should be getting that item I told you about. And he's like, I'm not listening to you. Kind of like, they're like arguing back and forth, even though like he's not really there. And so he jumps off. He's like, forget you, Blade. And so he jumps into this area and he finds this weird monster that's like eating all these people. And it's the Aday's Mother of Pestilence. I'm not sure if we're supposed to know who that is. Does that recognize it? Familiar to you, Zach?
No.
Adze, Mother of Pestilence. It sort of looks like what? Like a giant
brood or something?
Yeah, like the brood. It does look like a brood. And it's attacking people, killing them. So that's why I was saying there's like, seems to be other non-vampire creatures that are enjoying this darkness. And he's like telling them like, yo, there's plenty of food for us to go around. Like, cause he must be able to tell he's a vampire. He's like, I'll eat all this stuff. You can eat all this stuff. It'll be a good old time. And then Blade's immediately like, screw you. And starts fighting this.
My city.
Yeah. So he starts beating the crap out of him. And he's all angry at him like, hey, like, why are you messing up our dinner time? So he runs off. And T'Challa's kind of picking up this lady that has a bloody neck. And he's like cradling her like, oh, are you okay? And then he sees the blood on her neck and he's like, oh, that looks really good. Like really delicious. So it's like licks his lips and he's like thinking about taking a drink. And at this point, they kind of act like he hasn't had any blood yet. Like he hasn't drinking any blood. So I was wondering if maybe there's something to do. You know, sometimes in vampire stories where they're like, as long as you haven't taken your first sip, you may not go all the way.
You may not go all the way.
Right? Yeah. It's like the gateway sip to the rest of it. But right as he's about to drink the blood of this unsuspecting victim, someone comes up behind him and puts his sword under his chin and stops him. And
it's like a dagger.
Yeah, dagger.
It's a dagger.
It could be a mini sword.
A mini sword.
Yeah. And it is who?
Shuri.
Yeah, Shuri shows up and stops him from sucking the blood of the innocent. Which then it immediately gets weird because then Shuri cuts her own hand and she's like, here, brother, feed from me instead. And he drinks her blood from her hand and then he says something very disturbing right here, Zach. If you want to read that. I was like, what?
Her blood is as if ambrosia, manna as sweet as mother's milk and as sustaining. For a mother, I do not know if I could... Well, for a moment, I do not know if I could ever break away.
Which, like, he's comparing drinking the blood off his sister's hands to suckling the mother's milk. I was like, interesting comparison.
Yeah.
Strange.
Awkward.
Very strange. So one of the citizens that was happening turned into some weird creature, and they have to start battling the people that are turned into vampires. And him and Shuri going to say Siri. Him and Shiri are battling the vampires together, and they're like kicking their butts a little bit. And then she's like, I think I got a plan. You should come with me. And he disappears. Like, he's like, I can't hang out with you. So he just disappears. He goes and fights more vampires. It appears to be some sort of like time lapsing after this, because there's like a timer that goes on at the bottom of each of the pages. It's talking about like the sundown. I think the next page is where it starts. Like, there's like a time lapse. So you can see like he's traveling through a city fighting like a bunch of different people, and runs into some guards too at the same time in there. But it's like letting you know that a bunch of time is happening. So he's had some of her blood, but now the blood has gone through him and he's like wasted it, or not wasted, but it's like gone away. And so now he's super weak, and he's like, I can't take it anymore. And he collapses, and he's like, you know, because he hasn't been drinking anyone's blood. And Blade, I think, comes to him at this point again, also like a vision, or so to speak. You know, it's not really there.
Stupid.
Yeah, and he's like, you know, this would all work out if you were drinking some blood. You wouldn't be in this situation, and then you could go get my prize I've been wanting you to get. And again, he resists him. You know, he's kind of like slashes at him a little bit, and he's feeling down and dumpy. And Shuri kind of like shows up in the ship, and so she's way above him, and she like projects herself down below with like a hologram.
Oh, okay.
You know, sort of thing. So she's not really there next to him, but she's like giving him some like, hey buddy, like things are gonna be okay. Like we're gonna get through this. And he's kind of like, oh, I just need to hear my sweet sister's voice. Give me some more of that sweet blood. But they don't actually like meet up together. She's showing that she's like using this light thing from her ship to like protect people. Like, I guess if they're like hiding under this light beam, then the vampires won't get them. And she mentions, I thought this was interesting because this may lead into what the next book is about. She mentions that so far Latveria's borders have not been penetrated by the vampires. It may be one of the last bastions of safeness.
Yeah.
And who is the ruler of Latveria, Zach?
Doom.
Dr. Doom. So
Dr.
she's
Doom.
suggesting that they go meet up with Dr. Doom and work together with him. And immediately he's like, that's a terrible idea. Dr. Doom's a bad guy. Like, we can't meet up with Dr. Doom. And he's like, I am the king of Wakanda. I make the rules around here. And she's like, well, not really. You make the rules of outside Wakanda. And so they kind of like, she basically tells him like, I'm going to do whatever I want, so piss off. And then it leads back. Like, he's basically back on his mission to where Blade sent him. So he's going to this place that they call the Wakandan Natural Preserve, the Mitsuwa Dubihu. Sorry if I butchered that, someone's name, but it's a place. And again, Bast, the Panther goddess, shows up and is like, hey, I'm not supposed to be here. We talked about this. And he's like traveling on the mission. I think it ends really abruptly. I think it just basically starts right back where he was, where he's back on the mission to get this thing, and the Bast is there to stop him. So no big reveal at this one at all. Not crazy story, kind of a waste of time. But what do you think on this one?
I think they're going to free Vampirella. Wait, no, I already showed that one.
No,
I grabbed the wrong one.
I was wondering.
Vampirella.
No, it's not Vampirella. That is Vampirella.
Well, both of them are Vampirella, but this one's better than Vampirella. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting story. I thought that it kind of shows that you kind of can get away with, like, not following the vampire way. So kind of like, I'm sure they're implying that there's other people that are going to be like vampires that will, turn good and help them. Obviously, like that one blood goblin. So I think they're going to be more interesting vampire characters that'll be good or semi-good evil.
Semi-evil. The Diet Coke of evil.
So I'm kind of interested in what Black Panther's going to find, but we won't find out that until the next book.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the most exciting thing about this is, with all big events, you want to see some, like, lasting changes, in the Marvel Universe. Like, maybe a character, like, dies for forever, or, like, maybe someone becomes a vampire, like, forever, you know what I mean? Or at least for, like, a long period of time. Like, I think that makes it more interesting. And they do, like, when you do, like, a big event and they bring all these characters in and then they're like, gah, 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 they fight each other and they're like, put them all back to where they were, and then like basically like nothing really has any weight.
Pointless.
Like what was the point of that? It's fun. It's fun to watch it, but then at the end, like if it doesn't mean anything, it's like a nice one. At least something changes the status quo. You know what I mean? Maybe Miles will stay a vampire for a while. Maybe Black Panther will stay a vampire.
I would like that. I would actually like Black Panther because then he has like compulsion ability.
Yeah. What if that would make him a really interesting character? Like he's trying to do his thing, but then he also has to kind of suck blood at the same time, which would make him really similar to Blade at the same time. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. As usual, guys, do all the awesome YouTube stuff for us. Right now, stop what you're doing. Like button, subscribe button. The princess loves it when you hit the like button. Yeah. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think about our phase 2 of Blood Hunt. I almost said Blood Panther. Got Blood Panther on the mind. But our last one we did was really successful, and I think we had just as much fun doing this one. It's really cool. Like I said, I'm the only one reading it, so I'm explaining it to the team for the first time. A lot of times we all read the books together, but it also kind of helps me like keep track of what I'm reading with this. I wasn't going to read all the books originally, but I think I am now. We'll see where it goes. There is some that are kind of pointless, but
all 39 titles.
I think is it 39 or 59?
All 69 titles.
I hope it's 39. Good Lord. The Blood Hunt. But the word in the stratosphere is that a lot of people are really enjoying the series. So there's, for as events go for Marvel, a lot of people are enjoying this in the greater
I can see that.
verse of people saying like, this is a nice event. It's a good summer event, as they say. All right, guys. Until we see you next time.
Stay safe and get those gains.
Did you have anything else to say?
Vampire gains. That's about it. And share, of course. How you share is that you do leg squats, back squats, all the squats. And that's how you get a strong rear end.
So a vampire can't bite it.
Nope, they can't bite that strong rear.
The steel butt.
Yeah, the steel butt. Iron buns, as they say. All right, later, gainers.